What's going on, Texas? It's Tuesday night, and you know what that means. Time to talk some football. I, of course, am SAJ coming to you live from the Fred's Fish Fry studio. We don't ask any questions about where or what's going on over here.
What's up, everybody? I'm BD coming at you from the Crystal Pepsi Studios.
And, of course, Coach is not available because he's hanging out in the Montezuma's Revenge studio in an outhouse somewhere in Lake McQueenie. So it's Tuesday. It's time to talk some football. Brian. Oh, we had one viewer and then they went away. Oh, I'm sorry. Brian, let's talk about some XFL. It was a pretty interesting championship game this weekend, don't you think? This must be where I froze.
Are you there?
Did I freeze? I think I did.
Jay, are you there now?
Yes, I think I am.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can definitely hear you. I'm not sure what's going on with my lovely internet connection. Thanks, GVTC. Yeah, so it looks like we're finally streaming.
I think we're good now.
Yes. So let's talk some XFL Championship football.
Let's do it, man. What did you think of the game the whole weekend? I mean, it's quite a experience, man.
It was interesting. Hang on real quick. Let me try something. Okay, I'm back. Let's try without video for right now. See if maybe that can help some of our buffering issues.
All right, we're having some technical difficulties.
Oh, yeah, it's unfortunately it's on my end. Is that a little bit better now?
I can't see you. I can hear you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try for without cam for right now, just because.
All right, well, that's
somebody's
probably
soaking
better
up
for
a
our
lot
viewers.
of bandwidth on my end. Oh yeah, I don't disagree. I thought it was a great weekend. Decidedly did not turn out to be the way we thought the game was going to be, but I think all of the fun festivities that was wrapped around the entire weekend turned out to be exactly what we thought it was going to be, right? Obviously, we had an incredible super show that came live from the Alamo Brewery. I don't know why I almost said Alamo Distillery. That would have been the wrong place. But we had an incredible super show that was put on live thanks to the X-Fan show and the X-Fan Nation, right, of which we're a part of the X-Fan broadcast studio. And had an incredible time there, put on what arguably could be historically the largest simultaneous podcast at one time. And just had an incredible time that Friday night. I know a lot of the San Antonio podcasts were represented. Of course, Dirty and the X-Fan show from St. Louis were there. And I believe there were a couple of other podcasts that unfortunately were not able to join us. But we had people coming from Orlando, from Houston. I believe there was even supposed to be a Seattle podcaster that was supposed to be there, but just couldn't make it with all of his equipment on time. So, again, incredible show. Now, we get to Saturday. Tell me that wasn't, even though the Brahmas were not playing, tell me that was not one of the most fun tailgating experiences you've had.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. And just like what you're saying kind of from the night before, every single team was represented in that tailgate. You know, it took a little while to get a Vipers fan to show up, but
One
like
Vipers fan?
what one? Yeah, there was just one.
Yes.
I think he's the only fan of the Vipers, but he was there.
He
Um,
represented their one win, right?
absolutely. Did
That's so horrible.
they had two,
Well, then
maybe?
they should have had two fans there.
Yeah. But no, I mean it was a great time. You know, great time just meeting new people, hanging out with fans of other teams. You know, just making new friends in the XFL family. It was awesome. I even got to sneak in and photobomb the Battlehawks fan photo, uh, which I was invited to by a one group of the Battlehawk fans that I was hanging out with. So they were like, "Hey, come here, sneak in this photo. It'd be funny." So of course I did.
Of
So
course.
of course, yeah, it was just a great time. Uh, just seeing just fans just hanging out, just fanning together. It was awesome.
Yeah. Uh I really liked, and again, right, we're a little bit biased here. But I really liked the Texas representation, specifically from the Houston fans. And then of course the fans that we met in Arlington, the Banditos.
Yep.
Those are some awesome, incredible gentlemen. So, shout out to them if you guys are watching. Thank you so much for coming down and representing your team. Of course, Caps Lock Jimmy was there, and he was fun to joke around with. But just the incredible Texas showing. I'm pretty sure that if the Brahmas were there, I don't think we would have had nearly as many Texas fans there. But I can guarantee you we would have had just as many, if not more, Brahmas fans that showed up. I thought it was really amazing how many Brahmas fans actually did show up for this game. Now, I get it. It's in our house. Of course, we're going to show up. But to see
Yeah.
that many familiar faces showing up to the game, we met some new people, had an incredible time. But again, just to see that many Brahmas fans showing up to the event was absolutely mind blowing. And I'm super excited for what that means, or what that potentially means, rather, for the future of the San Antonio Brahmas here in San Antonio. Now, again,
Absolutely.
yeah, there was a huge consortium of Roughnecks fans that showed up. Of course, showed their support for Arlington. There was a decent amount of Arlington fans that showed up to show their support for Arlington as well. A lot of people, including the Battlehawks fans and Seattle, and potentially, Vegas. There were a lot of people that showed up to show support for DC, and unfortunately, they did not go home very happy. But let's talk about that game, Brian. What did you think of that game overall?
Well, I think we talked about it last week. Uh, don't sleep on Arlington. They're playing really good football. And then we both said that we both picked DC to win, obviously, but we thought it was going to be a pretty close game. Um, well, we were right about not sleeping on Arlington. We were just wrong about DC winning. Um, they came out and they played inspired. Perez is every bit the great quarterback that we've been saying he is all year long, and DC just had no answer, and they didn't have any answers offensively either. It was just struggle after struggle. It wasn't until midway through the fourth quarter that they actually kind of started getting something going. Well, I guess no, third quarter they did a little bit too, but it was kind of shocking that DC was as inept as they looked on offense and defense too.
Yeah. Looking back at the stats, again, we've said this numerous times on the show here, right? Numbers don't lie. What absolutely blows me away is Perez 26-36, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns, right?
Yep.
Jordan Tamu, who arguably put numbers up like that all day long, right?
I mean, he was the offensive player of the year.
Yeah.
You know,
But in this game, he only went 16 to 30. Now, granted, he threw for 245 yards, one of which was a 72-yard bomb.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps his stats out pretty well. But for him to go 16 to 30 completions, like, that's insane. And when we watch the players play, like his key receivers, Hammond and Jackson, Blair, guys like that, that are his go-to weapons. I mean, they recovered a decent amount, but there were a few drops too, especially in the first quarter.
Yeah.
It was insane. So like Hammond was targeted 10 times, only caught 6. Blair was targeted 9 times, only caught 3, right? And that's unusual, right? And that 100% is, I don't want to say 100% is not on the quarterback. Part of it, of course, is the quarterback's responsibility to get the ball in catchable areas. And some of them were overthrown or underthrown by Tamu. But some of them were, in the area that receivers could have caught, and they just didn't catch them. So, ultimately, and definitely shout out to our friend DJ over from the Horns Forward podcast.
Yep.
He said it for about a week and a half. Don't sleep on Arlington. And we did not sleep on Arlington, but we definitely did not expect the showing that they did. I mean, especially being coached by Oklahoma's finest, Big Game Bob. That absolutely blew my mind that he was able to not only finish, not only finish a championship game, but to win a championship game. So Bob Stoops as a coach is so bad, he can't even lose a championship game like he's expected to. So that's my take on it. That 100% is my take on it. So, but that being the case, I think it was an overall decent game. It definitely was a great showing for what's his name? Perez.
Oh yeah.
And I really think, now that the XFL season is over, I'm pretty sure there's going to be several teams wanting to take a look at him, as a backup, maybe even potentially a starter, right? Again, 26-36, probably not exactly the greatest of numbers, just because, the completions out of attempts, you'd like to see that a little bit higher. However, you did see 288 yards from him and 3 touchdowns, right?
Yeah, and no picks,
Yeah, and no picks.
Most important.
Yep. Arlington, of course, had 111 on the ground. DC had 115 on the ground. So there was definitely a lot of ball movement and a lot of offense, right? Here's what amazes me. Vaughn's 8 targets, 8 receptions. Canella, 5 targets, 4 receptions. Arcanado was 6 targets, 4 receptions. And then Van Der Esch, right? Amazing. 4 targets, 3 receptions. So there were very few missed opportunities between the quarterback and the receiver on Arlington's side. So again, Perez's experience comes to, into play here. This guy's a veteran of, spring league football and, different situations like that. So he definitely capitalized, took control of that team in the last few weeks of the regular season. And arguably, and I hate to say it this way, but, we were saying that, Arlington has a quarterback but didn't have a team. Well, apparently all they were missing was a quarterback because they showed up. So it pretty much was the Arlington show, definitely for the first half, which we were all just blown away by. And it was nice to see DC make that charge towards the end. That 4th and 15 obviously did not work out for them. But, it was a good showing on DC's part, but it did not work out the way that we thought it was going to. So
I'll tell you where I think DC really lost it. In their comeback was after their touchdown an extra point when Abram Smith got that stupid penalty for throwing the ball at the head of one of the Arlington players. 15-yard penalty that backed him up for the kickoff, and then the kickoff ended up being short of the 20. So that's what, Arlington got it, on their 35-yard line or whatever it was, and scored a touchdown on the next play. That just absolutely killed the momentum that DC was building on. So,
yeah.
I mean, just an absolutely stupid play. And I don't know how you lose your cool like that in that big of a game, in that big of a moment. So
I wish I could tell you. I don't know. I've not been in that situation. So it's hard for me to say, but yeah, it was ridiculous. But yeah, overall pretty decent game. I do want to draw attention to one thing though, which really kind of surprised me. Right? Not that I want to, bash on anybody or, make anyone feel, like any kind of derogatory comments towards them. But I would really love to have a conversation with a DC fan and try and figure out like where they were, the people that showed up, where were their minds at, what was going on, And for those that didn't get a chance to watch the game, what I'm referring to is any kind of third down stop, right? DC's defense is on the field. Where are the fans making the noise? Where are the fans going crazy? We wound up making more noise than the DC fans did until halftime, in which we just gave up because nobody was joining us. I mean, I know you and I both jumped up several times doing what we normally do on, Brahma's defensive stand, right? One of us leans over to the other one and says, "Hey, what down is it?" And then we both jump up and scream third down and start trying to get people hyped up. We did that several times, and like nobody was biting.
Yeah, and even I think we both said like
that part I don't understand. I mean,
yeah, like we both. How many times did we both turn around and look directly at the DC fans and be like, I actually said, stand up and cheer for your team. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, act like you give a crap. Like, this is your team here playing for the championship. And you're just sitting there completely uninspired on these absolutely crucial plays.
Now, I will say I felt a little bad for the mom and son that were in front of us because they did have to get, assaulted by us and our super fandom. But maybe they, picked up on some of that energy and maybe they'll take that back with them to DC and maybe, maybe we'll see a little bit of life in them.
Well, you saw like after a couple times, the son, he was starting to get into it, even he was starting to get pissed off at everybody for not cheering.
Yep.
So, we got one guy going, but, really DC needed all their fans.
Yep.
I mean, it's not, we know that the crowd will help inspire the team. Like we've heard that from the players. They hear cheering and yelling, especially on defense. It hypes them up. And there was none of that from the DC fans. It was loud when Arlington was on third down, and Arlington played like they had a crowd cheering for them. DC just played completely uninspired, and I think a lot of that is also because the fans were acting completely uninspired.
Yep. Now, we know obviously that DC, was the visitors team, and Arlington definitely had the home field advantage. But I mean, still, get into it, celebrate, get rowdy with your team.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that their visit here to San Antonio kind of inspired a lot of the fans. I know Arlington needs some help kind of, getting behind their team also. Houston seems to show up well, so they're good. But I'm hopeful next season, especially when, we start doing a little bit more traveling with the team this year, that we're able to, kind of help inspire some people, or maybe we don't, right? Because I definitely I don't want to go to these stadiums and have their fans be louder than us, right? I kind of take pride
Yeah.
in the 200 strong that shut down Arlington. I want that to be our MO, right? I want that to be our standard. Is that we are the loudest, rowdiest fan base in the XFL, and hopefully next year, we start getting the numbers to back us up. Can you imagine, Brian, at 24,000, how loud we were? Can you imagine how loud the Alamo Dome would be at 30,000?
Oh, dude. Oh, dude. That would be
So
insane.
that is what the issue that I want to, or I'm sorry, that is the challenge rather that I want to issue to our San Antonio Brahmas fans. And I'm definitely going to be doing everything I can to drum up as much business as possible because I want as many fans there as we possibly can get. I know next year is going to be a different team and it's going to be a little bit different league with all the player signings and stuff like that. A lot of people getting signed to practice squads and all that cool stuff. But I want to see all those fans out there in the stands, filling it up, getting behind the team. Okay. Now,
Yeah, and I've had just these last couple of weeks, and I mean I've told you, Jay, I wear I wear my Brahmas gear whenever I can. The oh um and so I've had people asking me all the time, like, oh, is the league fun? Oh, hold on. I might have some breaking news.
what's that?
Tank for 22-23 is successful. The Spurs have gotten the number 1 pick in the NBA draft.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that have
Sorry.
anything to do with football?
It does not, but you know what?
Nobody cares. Move on.
Oh, I care.
I'm just messing with you, man. I know Spurs basketball is a very big thing here in San Antonio, and I'd like to say that I can partake in that celebration with you. I'm just not a basketball guy, dude. I just really it's not my thing. So,
I
but
know.
cool.
But you know what? I'm excited. Victor
Yeah.
Wembanyama is going to be a San Antonio Spur.
You hope.
Well, that he's the number 1 pick. That's absolutely who everybody was tanking to go get. So
Nice.
all right. I'm happy. I was watching that, kind of while the show was going on, and NBA draft lottery's done. So now I'm fully focused on here. So
Cool.
sorry to, like I was saying, I've had a lot of people come up to me, just ask me, how is the XFL? Oh, I've been meaning to catch some games. I've watched a little bit. It's kind of cool. What's it like? How is it? And I'm telling everybody I can, it's awesome. You got to check it out. You got to watch the games. They're so much fun. They're all, because of the rules of the league, almost every single game is close, exciting, and you got to check it out. You got to come to a game. So, I'm telling everybody I can to try and drum up as much support as possible.
You back?
Yep.
There's a little bit of buffer action there.
Oh, geez.
I know.
I don't know if you heard anything I just said.
No, they did. They did.
Okay.
The Brahmas games are definitely a lot of fun. I know I've heard from at least one person talking about how the football play was subpar. And I mean, I can get it from this person's standpoint, but they obviously didn't watch the entire season. They didn't watch all the teams develop. They didn't watch all the drama that came about and what arguably turned out to be an incredible XFL season and the XFL doing exactly what it did. And what I mean by that is getting players to the NFL. And right now, we're gonna switch gears a little bit. Right now, we're talking about 10, 11 players, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Currently 13 players have signed contracts with the NFL. Now, that's not to necessarily say that, they're starters or anything like that. What that's saying is that they've signed a contract to play for that team. However, when we read off the list of names, chances are most of these cats are going to be starting. Okay. So let's go down the list. Gucci DiNucci has signed a player contract with Denver Broncos, right? Gucci's going to be behind Russell Wilson, so chances are he's going to get some playing time. Okay, especially considering how much Wilson struggled this last season. So don't be surprised if you don't see him out there on the field, fighting for that number one position. We've got Bryce Thompson signing with the Miami Dolphins, and he had 2 interceptions and 34 total tackles. So that's pretty dang good. Chances are you're probably going to see him out on the field. Okay. Our boy, Jaquez Patrick, Mr. Patrick, has signed with the Denver Broncos.
Mr. Patrick.
In his limited time on the field, he had 443 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. And what I mean by that was that he was not the number one guy until our number one guy went down. And then he took on the responsibilities.
Yep.
And behind a very, very inefficient offensive line, because of all the changes and everything, he still managed to put up 443 yards for the season. That's insane.
In his limited time playing, he was only the second had the second highest rushing total in the league.
Yep.
I mean, imagine how if he had been the starter, how good his numbers would have been. And I think him more than any of the the skill positions, he's got a real good shot at actually getting some really good time with the Broncos, because the Broncos don't have much on the running back.
Yep.
And they didn't really address that in the draft. So I think Patrick has a really good chance of getting some really solid playing time with the Broncos.
Yep. So another San Antonio favorite, Luke Barku, signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? He recorded 1 interception and 31 total tackles this year. And with the connection with Hines Ward and what the heck is his name? The other coach? I'll think of it eventually. But anyways,
Porter?
With the connection that he has with
Joey Porter?
There you go, Joey
You
Porter.
mean Porter?
I knew you'd remember it. Yes.
Yep.
With that Pittsburgh connection, he's probably got a pretty good chance also. So it'll be interesting to watch his career develop there. CJ Brewer from the Roughnecks signed with Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss for the Roughnecks, and he had total 17 tackles. So chances are he may not be a starter, but he's definitely going to be in the rotation, right?
Yeah.
Lucas Dennis from the Battlehawks finished out the season with 37 total tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. He's signed with the Falcons. So he's going to see some time there. Fowley with the Sea Dragons, 24 total tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. He's staying right in Seattle, right? So that's going to be awesome for him. Jack Heflin, defensive lineman from the Roughnecks, 25 total tackles, 1 sack, 3 tackles for a loss. He signed with the Saints. Okay. We've got Antoine Jackson from the Sea Dragons, 20 total tackles and 1 tackle for a loss. He's going with Carolina, right? So we know Carolina's had their struggles. So there's a chance that he's going to be playing there as well.
Yep.
And going back to the New Orleans Saints, Nico Lalos with the Sea Dragons, 35 total tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 7 tackles for a loss. He signed with the Saints. So chances are he's going to be a big part of that defense also, because I know they had their struggles as well. Then, of course, we've got London with the Battlehawks. He signed with Atlanta Falcons. Our boy John Parker Romo, another San Antonio favorite. Unfortunately, he signed with the Detroit Lions, which hurts me as a Packers fan. But 17 of 19 for the season. And I think his longest was 56 yards, and it was money. Dude, chances are he's going to be the starter for Detroit. And as much as it hurts me to say it, I hope he is, and I wish him the best of luck, man.
So are you
and then, of course, we wrap out the last player. Am I going to what?
Are you going to do what Jorge said he was going to do and go buy a Romo Lions jersey?
No, sir, I will not.
Okay.
I love Romo. I've got a deep-seated hatred for Detroit that stems well beyond any love that I've got for Romo. So I will support Romo. I will cheer for him when the Lions play the Packers and hope that he does well. But I hope that those are the only points that Detroit scores. And then,
That's
of course,
fair
our
enough.
last.
You know what? I would do the same if he went to the Commanders, Eagles, or Giants. So
100%. And then our last contestant on Who Wants to Be an NFL Player, Barry Wesley of the Sea Dragons, signed with Atlanta Falcons. He was offensive lineman that basically helped only allow 11 sacks on McCarron this season. And so that's pretty dang impressive. So again, we've got a crap ton of players, and we're not done, right? The XFL season just ended. Yeah.
DC and Arlington hadn't gotten a chance to get their players picked up yet.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So they were officially released from their contract, I believe, as of Monday. Okay. Most of the other players were released the day after their last game. So that would mean, following in that trend, all of those players were released on Monday. So they're good to go, and they're good to start shopping around and have teams hit them up. And I'm very excited to watch this list grow of players that are going to get opportunities to go to mini camps and try out, and then to see how many players actually do sign player contracts and what winds up happening from that. And then again, reminder to our viewers, just because they've signed a player contract doesn't mean they're actually going to play, right? They've still got to get through all the mini camps and all the preseason games and all that stuff to make that final 52-man roster. I'm sorry. But again,
53, you were right.
Is it 53? Okay.
It's 53.
But again, a great showing of XFL talent this season. I'm excited to see all these players, either get to or get back to the NFL, and I'm going to be excited to watch their careers go as they play in the big leagues now. So speaking of player development, let's switch over to the USFL and let's talk about some games. We'll just say some games, right? I'm going to turn my camera back on. I think there I am. I think hopefully enough bandwidth to handle this. So
tell the hamster
Pittsburgh
to hurry
Maulers
up.
and Michigan Panthers. Yes. Pittsburgh Maulers against the Michigan Panthers. We tried to watch this game as we were going to the tailgating, and it got out of hand pretty quickly. Pittsburgh pretty much handled the Panthers. It wound up being 23-7 in a predominantly Pittsburgh game. And let's open that up and look at some of the stats. Okay. Williams with the Maulers went 15-19, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and quarterback rating of 120.2, right? 78.9% accuracy on his throwing. And that's pretty good. If we look at the Panthers, Strong went 13-23, 94 yards total, no touchdowns and a pick. So he got a QB rating of 48.1, rightfully so. And then Love, not Jordan Love, went 8-12, 68 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He got a quarterback rating of 74.3.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Walker tried one, didn't go anywhere. He gets a quarterback rating of 39, which that I don't understand. You get points just for trying? I don't get that.
That's the QBR participation trophy, rating.
Yes. One thing I noticed, though, if you look at the ground game for Pittsburgh, they had 122 yards on the ground. The Panthers had 18 yards total.
Oh, man.
Okay. That means they weren't going anywhere. Okay. And Pittsburgh's a solid team. but their defense definitely showed up to play this game. And so we wound up with a score of 23-7 in favor of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is now 2-3 on the season, and Michigan is now 2-3 on the season. Now, our friends over in Houston, they may be on a tear. We talked about this before and wondered if things are turning around for Houston. Apparently, they are. Houston is now 3-2, going against a very strong Birmingham team that was 3-1 going into this game, and Houston wound up winning at 27-20.
That's 3 in a row for Houston.
Take it away.
I just said that's 3 in a row for Houston now. They first couple of games we were watching, they did not show very well, but maybe they're getting it together. We kind of mentioned that last week, and this was kind of a good test for them, and they successfully passed that test.
Very much so. So if we look at the quarterback comparisons, right? Wilson went 9 of 14, 117 yards, 1 touchdown. Cozart went 2 for 6, 33, right? So they had 132 yards in the air, and they had 135 on the ground. And kick over to Birmingham. McGaw went 24-37, 209, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So he definitely showed up, right? His ground game was not really there, though, right? If you look at the rushing attempts, most of them, not all of them, but most of them were done by him, and the most yards were picked up by McGaw. Yeah. And, his longest rush was 27 yards. And I believe I saw that one. And looked strong, but, your quarterback running for 27 yards, that's not such a good thing, Of course, receiving, Houston definitely was pretty much on target, right? Hall had the most receptions, 6 of 6. Ratliff Williams was targeted 4 times, but only brought in 1. I know he was drawing, quite a bit of coverage. And it just, again, I mean, it was a pretty decent showing. And Houston pretty much was, was in charge most of that game. Well, I take that back. I mean, they did look a little crappy in the second quarter, but they definitely tightened it up in the third quarter, keeping Birmingham down to 3 points. And then that fourth quarter, man, they just blew it out. No. So, but that was that game. And so we kick over to Sunday. Now, I will say I only watched highlights of these games. I did not get a chance to watch these games because, it's Sunday and there was just a lot going on and we were still trying to recover from the XFL Championship game. But the Philadelphia Stars beat the New Jersey Generals. Philly is now 2-3 on the season, and Jersey is 3. This is a close game, 24-21. Started out very, very slow game. Pittsburgh got 3 points in the first quarter, and then they started kind of duking it out a little bit in the second quarter. Philly, of course, stayed in the lead. And then third quarter, Philly definitely extended their lead with their 2 field goals. But Jersey tried to push back, right? They got 11 points in the fourth quarter, trying to really, rally the troops, if you will. And it didn't work, right? Anyways, the score wound up being 24-21 on that one. Philly took that game, and it was an okay game. It wasn't the greatest game, but it looked all right. And then, of course, our last game of the season, or last game of the week, a very, very surprising turn of events here, right? Memphis Showboats wound up beating the unbeaten New Orleans Breakers. So Memphis is now 2-3 on the season, and New Orleans is now 4-1. And here's what was really surprising. Okay. Memphis on passing, 24-36, 224 yards. The Breakers, 25 and 35, 206, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Quarterbacks are almost identical. Here's, I think, where the difference was. Rushing, what is it? Memphis only had 35 yards on the ground, and the Breakers had 50 yards on the ground. So there definitely was not a lot of ground game here whatsoever. This pretty much was all, air attack by both teams. And it looks like Memphis's defense was just able to kind of outplay and outthink New Orleans and keep them kind of contained to 10 points total. So, and looking back at the score, it looks like they only got their points in really the third quarter, right? They got 1 touchdown in the third and then a field goal in the fourth. And whereas Memphis had 2 field goals in the second, 1 in the third, and of course they got 8 points in the fourth. And then that's how they kind of took that lead there. But again, I mean, decent game. Still weird trying to watch football with no fans in the stands.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that all works out. Especially after.
Not to go back to talking about the Philly game. One thing I noticed interesting, just kind of going through the scores, all 24 of Philly's points were from field goals. Their kicker hit 8 field goals in the game.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've ever heard of that. I think the Cowboys have kicked 7 in a game before. I don't know if I've ever heard of 8 field goals in the NFL. So I thought that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is a very unique stat. I don't know that I've ever seen an NFL team score 8 field goals in one game. That is just that's weird. So let's go ahead.
You know what? It is 8. Tennessee Titans had 8 field goals in 2007.
Really?
Yep.
Nice. So let's go ahead and look forward and look at the games for this weekend and see what we got going on. So we've got Pittsburgh Maulers going up against the Memphis Showboats, both 2 and 3 teams. That should be interesting to see, especially with Memphis coming off that big win against New Orleans, right? And then you have the Birmingham Stallions taking on the Michigan Panthers. And both of these are on Saturday. So those should be pretty decent games. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Birmingham, Michigan, both coming off of a loss. So, who gets to make the adjustments to get a win there?
Yep. And New Orleans is going up against Philly on Sunday. And that's, definitely going to be a redemption game there.
Yeah.
And but Philly's coming off of a win themselves. And so they may be feeling a little froggy. So it'll be interesting to see how that game pans out. And then, of course, you've got the New Jersey Generals going up against the Houston Gamblers. New Jersey, obviously, I believe they are coming off of a loss themselves. But, Houston's on a 3-game win streak. So this could potentially, be a game where we find out whether we've got, some actual action from Houston or not.
Yeah.
Real quick.
We've been saying that for a couple weeks now. Hey, Jackie, how's it going? We've been saying for several weeks, like, all right, now Houston can show us. Now Houston can show us. So far, they've been showing us. So
Yeah. So we'll definitely be keeping you updated on those games as we get scores and whatnot. We are kind of rooting for Houston. We definitely would like to see them do something. And again, right, we want to keep a close eye on how this whole USFL experiment pans out, because you've got 2 teams in Houston, right? One doesn't play in Houston, but one claims Houston as its home city. So it's going to be really interesting.
It would be really nice for a Houston team to actually do something. So,
ouch. Right, the Texans did make some pretty strong plays in the offseason here. So
they did, but it is the Texans, so I'm still, expecting them to fail.
I'd like to see them add Wade Phillips back to the equation there. just so they can go fade back into obscurity.
I mean, as long as they add him as like a defensive coordinator or something, he'll be fine.
I want him as head coach.
You know what? It's just when he's head coach that he just gets all bumbling and stumbling.
Can you do dual head coaches and put Big Game Bob and Wade as the dual head coaches of the Texans and see how much of a Titanic disaster that would be? That would be a momentous coaching failure right there. It'd almost be like a certain Arlington team that I'm not going to mention.
You know what? They're known for some coaching failures over there as well. You know, especially Wade Phillips.
Good old clapper, Jason Garrett.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Turnover. Boom. Good job, boys.
Boom.
Turnover. Good job.
I know, Jackie, you're a Cowboys fan. We love you. We respect you.
Yep. Hey, Jackie, I'm a Cowboys fan too. That's why I can say it.
We got to do something to get people fired up here. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how that whole USFL thing pans out. And I'm really hopeful that maybe by next year they kind of break this whole hub cycle and start getting back into their home cities, right?
I hope so. You know, I wonder. We've always, talking about like, okay, XFL, USFL. Now XFL season's over. The NFL is picking all the good players and stuff. We still got quite a bit of football in the USFL. I almost feel like by the time their season ends, are there going to be spots left for any of these players?
So it's interesting that you say that. I think there will be. What I'm honestly concerned about with that, though, is that what kind of shape are these players going to be in, right? Because they're going to be finishing up a USFL season and have like maybe 2-3 weeks of rest at the most to recover from their injuries and stuff, and then right into a training camp, if they even get that much. So I'm concerned about what the USFL is kind of setting their players up for. If we look at the last season game,
so the last season game is June 18th,
right? And then you've got the playoff on June 24th, right? Well, 24th and 25th, and then the championship on July 1st. That essentially, again, starting towards the middle or end of July, right? That's not going to give those players that are going to get a chance, to really rest and recover, like we said, from those injuries. And so how's that going to affect the quality of product that the USFL is producing, right?
So the first preseason game for the NFL is August 3rd. So that's a month, and that assumes like, hey, they play in the championship game, give them a couple of the players, a couple weeks off. I mean, you're looking at less than 2 months for these players to rest and heal, I mean, if you've got a little nicks, little dings and stuff like that, just general soreness, it won't be too bad. But, you got some aches and some pains. That's not really enough time to get into NFL shape. So I think that will end up hurting a lot of these players.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think it's going to come back on the USFL, and they're going to be – I mean, I don't want to use such strong language, but I'm going to. I think they're going to be, essentially robbing potential, NFL players of opportunities because they're not going to have enough time. So I wonder if maybe next season they're going to adjust the schedule, or if they're going to potentially try and get their teams back home, right? Maybe shorten the schedule a little bit or do something to kind of alleviate some of that. So players do have a better chance to make it back into the NFL, unless they're just not really serious about their commitment to these players like they've talked about, right? So
you would hope that they are, but I mean, we'll see.
We will definitely see. Let's go ahead and take a look real quick at the IFL. We're just going to briefly cover over some of these games. Week 9 was an interesting week. There's definitely some high scores here, which is what you would expect from indoor football. But it looks like the Quad City Steamwheelers, which is Brian's favorite team, beat the Sioux Falls Storm 47-30. My Green Bay Blizzard beat the San Diego Strike Force 61-50, which they're not actually my team. I just like Green Bay. But Iowa Barnstormers, AFL, baby. They beat the Massachusetts Pirates like we had talked about. Score 73-43.
Yeah, after a lowly 34 points last week, the Barnstormers throw up a 73.
Yep, serious Barnstormer action there.
That's right.
The Duke City Gladiators beat the Tucson Sugar Skulls 56-49, of course. The Frisco Fighters, again, right? The champs of North Texas here. That's
right, DJ.
Hey,
Tank for Wimba, successful.
Yes, blech. Take that off.
No, that's staying the rest of the show.
It's gone.
Jackass.
I see other fans leave. So Frisco Fighters actually won against the Tulsa Oilers, right? 39-37. That was a close game.
Yep. Staying undefeated.
Not a whole lot of offense, but like Brian said, they are undefeated, right? So they are total champs there. Man, Daryl gonna get himself beat up, right? We're gonna have to stop talking about football and watch this fight that's developing here. But so then we go on to the Northern Arizona Wranglers beat the Bay Area Panthers 35-34, and then of course the Vegas Nighthawks beat Arizona Rattlers 55-54. Looking ahead, we've got the Steamwheelers at the Pirates. That should be a win for Brian's team. Daryl, we're talking about.
They're not my team. They're like the dumbest name ever. So
which
just for those who aren't aware, that's why you say it's my team, because it's the dumbest name ever for a team. You know what? It's not the dumbest name ever because there's some pretty dumb names, but it's up there.
It's kind of close. Daryl, we're talking about the Indoor Football League. And the reason why we're talking about that, ouch, not basketball. Again, the reason why we're talking about that is because the IFL, first of all, has a team in Texas. They had two teams in Texas, don't they?
No, just Frisco. NAL has two teams.
NAL has two teams. That's right.
Yeah.
But also, again, because of the connection with the IFL and the XFL, we want to keep an eye on the star players and see if they make the transition into the XFL, right? Because again, we want to talk everything Texas football here. So again, Steamwheelers against Pirates. We are going to talk about that. We're not quite there yet, though. Okay, Daryl, we track the European League as well a little bit, but that's more because of the NFL connections and some of the Texas teams here, right? Specifically, Brian and his one-star Dallas Cowboys. Sorry, Jackie. I had to take that jab. Yes. But so again, Quad City Steamwheelers, Massachusetts Pirates should be, an interesting game. Probably not super entertaining though. Iowa Barnstormers are going against Green Bay Blizzard. If Iowa plays the same way they did last week, that should be in the bag for them, no problem. Okay. Sioux Falls Storm going up against Tucson Sugar Skulls. Should be another one for Sioux Falls in the win category, but we'll see, right? Tucson has turned some around before. Northern Arizona Wranglers against the Arizona Rattlers. That should be a good game, right? We know the Arizona Rattlers from the AFL, and they've been playing pretty strong this season. Maybe not the best, but they're definitely playing pretty strong, okay? Frisco Fighters at the Bay Area Panthers. We know how Frisco's been playing. Hopefully they'll be able to bag this one pretty good too, right? Tulsa Oilers at the Vegas Nighthawks. That should be a win probably for Vegas, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. And then, of course, you've got Duke City Gladiators at San Diego Strike Force. That should be a pretty close game. I see it probably being around in the 40s. Probably San Diego taking the win on that one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's kick over to the National Arena League where the San Antonio Gunslingers are. Now,
we only had one game last weekend.
They did have one game. You want to talk about that one real quick?
It was the Predators and the Cobras, and the Cobras won 52-38. So not much of a game by the Predators. Actually, just kind of look. I didn't watch the game. Just kind of checking highlights and looking at box scores and stuff. But it was a boring second half, man. Just goose eggs all around. Actually, no, I'm sorry. My score sheet is incorrect.
That's okay. So, yeah, Daryl, real quick. Daryl's asking about the Gunslingers. Yeah, the Gunslingers are currently undefeated right now. They're 4-0 on the season. Their next closest competition is the Carolina Cobras at 3-1. And they, I believe, have already played the Carolina Cobras, have they not? And they beat the Carolina Cobras 41-40. So it was a very close game. But, they're kind of dominating the league right now. The scores don't necessarily show that, though, right? Every game they've played has been a close game. And, but, anything can happen in arena football, but definitely the Gunslingers. Now, I wanted to show this real quick. I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that on my screen?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So I saw this meme, and I wanted to share it with everybody here. I couldn't get enough time to get it posted up on my computer, but it's the San Antonio Bunslingers. But somebody made a meme about it, and I think it's kind of and the old USFL names such as the San Antonio Gunslingers. We told you guys a couple of weeks ago, keep an eye on this lawsuit because right now nothing is actually developed yet, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. What is the USFL's plan? Are they going to try and bring back some of these teams? Jack, you put up the hot dog bun for the San Antonio Bunslingers. And again, guys, we're just joking around, having fun. We're not trying to make fun of the team or anything like that. We definitely support the Gunslingers here. But I definitely want to see how this conflict develops out, right? Is the USFL going to make a big deal about the San Antonio Gunslingers, or will they give them a chance to buy the rights to that name? Is there even, any kind of basis for any kind of a lawsuit, right? They filed a patent for that name, but the problem is that was with the original USFL that was defunct, went bankrupt. Yeah. So do they still get to remain, or do they get to retain those rights to those names, or do they lose it when a company goes bankrupt, right? These are questions that I can't answer. I'm not a lawyer.
That's for people who are way smarter and make a whole lot more money than I do.
Yes.
Yeah, way much more money. Yeah, way much more. That's why I can't make decisions on
way much bigger brain,
because I say way much more money.
Yes, way much bigger brain.
That's right. Yeah, much bigger brain, way much more money.
Yes, so definitely keep your eye on that. There's just a lot going on with that, so it's going to be really interesting to watch that develop and see kind of how they hammer it out, and especially with a company like John Wayne. God bless them, by the way, for taking ownership of the Gunslingers, but with a company like John Wayne, are they really going to want to get involved and tied up in a lawsuit over the two names? Are they going to try and settle out of court? Are they going to just change the name? Like, what are they going to do? Way much more buns. 100%, Daryl.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and look forward to week 7. We've got some Friday and Saturday action on this weekend. We've got Carolina Cobras going up against the Fayetteville Mustangs. That should be a pretty good game. I definitely see Carolina taking that one though, and hopefully we start getting some of these scores back up in the higher numbers, because a lot of these scores are posting up around the 30s and 40s, which is a little bit low for arena football.
Yeah, nobody goes to arena to see teams put up 30 points, man.
Yeah, it's supposed to be an offensive show, not defense. Here is an old AFL matchup that I'm definitely looking forward to on Saturday, right? You've got the Albany Empire going up against the Jacksonville Sharks.
Yep.
Both are, good, strong AFL teams from the past. I don't know that they're necessarily good, strong teams in the NAL now. It should be a pretty close game. I'm very close, high-scoring game, or a very close, very low-scoring game. right? It's all just going to depend on how those defenses do out there. But the game of the week that we're predicting is going to be the Gunslingers at the West Texas Warbirds.
That's right.
And I believe
Texas
we talked
showdown
about
right there.
Yep. I believe we talked about this last week, that we found out that West Texas is actually in Abilene.
Odessa.
I'm sorry, Odessa.
Yes, yeah.
So
it's all the same out there.
Yeah. If you don't have tickets, get tickets. Make sure that you lock up the convenience store and turn off the lights when you leave, right? Because there's not going to be anybody there to man the store. Nobody's coming in anyways. So go check out the game, right? This is good, fun, affordable family entertainment. No, Daryl, this is not El Paso. El Paso is like Southwest Texas, very, very west Southwest Texas.
El Paso's like 18 hours away from that.
Everything's 18 hours away from everything in Texas,
yeah,
Brian.
Yeah.
Come on. But again, this should be a good game. I pretty much see Gunslingers pulling off the win here.
Oh, I think so. I mean, I think it's, at least looking at record, looking at the production during the season so far, Gunslingers are outmatching the Warbirds. But hey, this is an in-state rivalry, and teams get hyped up for stuff like this. So yep. I wouldn't Warbirds' chance to make a move and kind of prove that they're actually on par with their Texas brethren.
Yeah. Well, and we know that West Texas has already won one game, right? We've seen it in several other NAL and IFL matchups that the underdog. Well, we just saw it at the XFL Championship this weekend, right? The underdog can flip the script and pull off a win, especially when it matters most. So that's going to be a fun game to watch. Again, we are pulling for the San Antonio Gunslingers. Should not be a problem, but as Daryl would say, don't sleep on any team, right? You sleep on a team, you get schooled like we did. Okay. so there you go, Daryl. You were right. I'm saying it on national broadcast here. We slept on them. You didn't. You were right. So there. Again, looking forward, we've got plenty of football action, and you've got Daryl, absolutely. We've got some USFL action going on. We've got week 10 action going on with the IFL, and what is that, week 7? Where are we at?
NAL? What are we? It's week 6.
Week 6. There you go. Okay, week 6 in the NAL. No, it's week 7. No. Yeah, it's week 7 this week. So, look, tongue out. See, even Jackie agrees with me. There you go. But just because we don't have the XFL going on doesn't mean that things are over with. Brian and I talked about it at the beginning of the show. Now that the XFL Championship has been played, now that these players have been released from their contracts, now NFL players can start going after the DC players and the Arlington players. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be 2 quarterbacks that are going to be getting invited to mini camps. Yep. Pretty much a guarantee. And there's probably going to be some receivers.
At least one. Perez is going to get some invites. Tamu, he might not get some looks now. I mean, I think some of the DC fans threw more. I think he threw more lemons than some of the DC fans did.
Oh, yes. Can we talk about that real quick? I gotta say, I loved, as annoying as it is, I loved the spirit of that. What I loved even more, though, was when the announcer came on and said, "Please do not throw produce on the field."
Yes, that was
really opened up.
Fantastic. That was, I mean, people talking crap and like, oh, I love it, dude. It's just part of the game, part of the XFL. That, yep, absolutely. Right, they were. I think, we probably wore them out tailgating, but I love that aspect of the league. I love the beer snake. I love chunking lemons onto the field. I love Danucci talking his crap. I love every part of that. Yep. So, it's fun. It doesn't, I think a couple, players got hit with lemons. Who cares? It's a freaking lemon, but did you see there also some of the players were like chunking the lemons back into the stands. It's just, it's just fun.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm here for. I'm here for fun.
It was good, harmless fun. Like, nobody's going to get hit by a lemon and be taken out of the game or anything like that, right? It might bruise an ego or two, but that's about it. But so again, right, as crazy as it is, I love look at this right here.
Mm-hmm.
Someone threw them in her section. She just saw lemons fly, right? And then Daryl, fan entertainment, 100%.
Absolutely.
Right. So the one thing I love about the XFL that I have not seen in really any other league, except for, the NFL, of course, is that fan engagement. We've talked about this several times before. That I can't say that I have. I mean, why would I be putting lemons near my eyes? But I mean, who knows? But yeah, I would assume that it would a lot, right? But again, that fan engagement, we talked about it before. I've asked this on our platform here. I've asked it on other platforms before, right? What it means to super fan. And that's the one thing that XFL fans do very well, right? Jorge with the mariachi whole thing going on. We've got Captain Brahma. You and I have got something that we're going to be unveiling this next season. You've got the luchadors. You've got all these different crazy things. You have over in St. Louis, you have the Bird Knight guy. I don't remember what his
Ball Hawk.
Okay, Ball Hawk.
He's a real cool guy. We got to talk to him a lot. He came down here.
Not him, but the other cat, the one that does the full armor suit.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm gonna save that comment for later. Just because I want to see what happens with that. But then of course, like DC had Captain Obvious and the beer snake and the lemons. The Seattle Sea Dragons,
Excalibur. That's who it is.
Excalibur. Yeah. There you go, Excalibur. Yeah. But Seattle has the Sea Dragon onesies. Please don't put up that next one. It's a family-friendly show. So it's just all that kind of stuff. Like you see people going all out like that at NFL games, right? Like, the Packers were famous for having St. Vincent, right? A guy who would dress up in like full Catholic garb with the vestments, the robe, the shawls, all that, and a staff with a picture of Vince Lombardi on it. Okay. Aaron Jones and the whole sombrero thing. The Cowboys, they definitely have their thing. Like the Bengals
we see, like you talk all throughout the league, the NFL, we see these, and it's really cool to see this now kind of growing in the XFL. I mean, this is the first season, and you've got all these super fan characters that are, it's just starting out. And so just next year following, keep going. It's just going to keep getting bigger and better. And I'm here for it.
Yes. So I'm definitely excited to see kind of what season 2 holds, right, for the super fans and the different things that we're going to display, how people tweak their costumes. I know Jorge's got some changes coming up. Yeah. I'm sure Captain Brahma is probably going to step up his game because he knows other people are going to be stepping up theirs. I'm sure DJ is probably going to dig something out of the Alamo basement and bring that out to wear, and maybe that and a musket or something. Who knows? Maybe Pee Wee's bike. We'll see what happens. It's just, this is a good time to be a fan of the XFL and just of football in general. I mean,
absolutely.
When in any of our lives have we ever been able to say that we pretty much have football all year round, right? DJ, a coonskin cap, that's a hat that's made out of raccoon skin. That's the ones that you see like on the Texas history movies with the raccoon tail on it. I'm sure you've got one down there in the basement with you.
Yeah.
So, hang on, I'm looking up European Football League right now. They should be starting real soon. And actually, it's season 3. So let me close this out. Look at the schedule real quick. The one thing I kind of like,
not nice, Daryl. Not nice.
Not nice. Okay, so it looks like it doesn't have a date. It just says June 2023. But the European Football League, where a lot of players are going to get extra training time, they're going to be starting in June, right? So I'm very curious to see how that's going to affect a lot of these players' opportunities to get into the NFL, right? Because they're starting basically a month before the NFL does. And that's going to be tough. That is going to be really, really tough to see. But there are definitely some NFL connections here. There's the Vienna Vikings, right? The Prague Lions. There was another one I saw that they call them the Panthers Wrocław, which it's a Polish team. But it's the Wrocław Panthers. So I'm sure, again, their mascot looks just like Carolina. So they've got to have some kind of connection with Carolina. From some of the old European football, you've got Frankfurt Galaxy, the Barcelona Dragons, right? So there's definitely a lot of, connection back to the NFL. But the timing is just confusing as can be. So like their last game is in September, right? Week 14 is in September. So are they trying to stagger it a little bit and give the players an opportunity to break, maybe pick up some time in the XFL or USFL or something? That'll be interesting to watch that one and see how that develops. And of course, you have Canadian Football League also that we'll kind of briefly skim over because it doesn't really have much of a Texas connection right now. Although we have had Canadian Football League teams here, but
we had one here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Years and years, the original Texans.
Yep. So, and for Daryl's question here, covering high school football, we definitely do.
Yep.
And one of our co-hosts, who actually isn't here right now, but Coach is very, very well connected in high school football in the fact that he does a lot of the broadcasting for the Judson games and stuff. So he's very connected with the 6A football in and around San Antonio and really a lot of Texas because Austin comes down and plays Judson a lot. And so we're definitely going to be covering a lot of that. And right, I'm not going to ruin the surprise, but we will have a very special guest that will be joining us during high school football season. A very familiar person. You won't recognize him by his face, but you'll definitely recognize him by his name. And that's all I'm going to say. So, but that should pretty much be it for the show. I know we went a little bit over our hour tonight.
We always do.
Yeah. And there's a lot to talk about too, right? Especially with the player watch with the XFL and everything. So for all you XFL fans out there, make sure you stay watching as things develop, right? We're going to have a lot more players getting camp tryouts. We're going to be seeing a lot more players actually getting signed 2-player contracts with teams. Yeah, that the 100% was a secret nugget. Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you the secret though. So with that, right, again, coming to you live from the Fred's Fish Fry Studio, where you don't ask any questions. Brian, that's your cue.
I'm coming at you from the Crystal Pepsi Studios, and we will see you next week, guys. Thank you.
Yes, we will. Guys, take care. Next Tuesday, Texans Talking Football. See ya.